Hello, Mrs. Aung San Suu Kyi. My name is Yujiro Taniyama, and I'm an outspoken samurai of the 21st century. And I have respected you as a pro-democracy advocate since I had been studying economics at Keio University in Tokyo. And it is my humble honor that I am given the privilege to interview you today through my favorite YouTube, to ask you just one simple question regarding your great father, Mr. Aung San. A couple of days ago, on January the 27th, you were interviewed by the BBC, and you answered that you are fond of the Myanmar army since you've regarded it as your father's army. And when I heard that, I was very much intrigued, because my thoughts go fully with you, Mrs. Aung San Suu Kyi, that you respect your father, you respect the Burmese people, and the military. There's no doubt about that. However, just 5 days after that, you flew to Seoul, South Korea, and the South Korean Yonhap news agency, it reported that you had rebuked the Japanese military actions during World War II as follows. Everybody makes mistakes, but the biggest mistake is when you hesitate to acknowledge it. That's what it said on the Yonhap News. And if you had actually said that, Mrs. Aung San Suu Kyi, that is very, very disappointing on my behalf, because it was your father, Mr. Aung San, who strongly demanded Japanese military support during World War II, especially from around 1940. I guess you already know, but your father, Mr. Aung San, was a Burmese freedom fighter from the mid-1930s to mid-1940s. And he and his Burmese comrades, including Ba Maw, later to become the Prime Minister of Burma, they had pledged, they had demanded strong military support from the Japanese to liberate Burma from virtually 100 years of colonial rule by the harsh British colonizers. And that is why, on December the 16th, 1941, just a week after Pearl Harbor, Free Burma Army was established in Bangkok, Thailand. Not Free Syrian Army. That's Bashar al-Assad right now. Free Burma Army was established in Bangkok on December the 16th, 1941, with the assistance from the Japanese military. To be a little more precise, virtually, the Free Burma Army, it was set up by the special unit called the Minami Unit of the Japanese Imperial Army, led by Colonel Keiji Suzuki. So around 200 military supervisors from this special unit Minami collaborated with Mr. Aung San Suu Kyi, your father, General Aung San, Ba Maw, and around 30 Burmese comrades. So, from the end of December 1941, Free Burma Army, they moved on to Burma to liberate the nation, the beloved motherland. They advanced through the Thai-Burmese border, headed up north to Tam Bisayat, the Burmese city, train station, then even up north, over the Sittang River, Sittang Bridge. And finally, in March 1942, they liberated, Free Burma Army liberated Rangoon, then the capital of Burma, from the British colonizers in just 3 months. And 4 months after that, in July 1942, the British troops they all withdrew from Burma back to India. However, this victory was like, it was as thin as a skin of a teeth or kind of vulnerable because the Anglo-American forces, they had dozens of weaponries and military weapons stored and come back in order to retaliate. And that is why in 1943, Mrs. Aung San Suu Kyi, your father, General Aung San and Bamo and his comrades visited Japan once again to seek further military assistance, in which Japan did provide. So for nearly 4 years, your father and Free Burma Army fought with the Japanese until March 1945, when your father abandoned Japan, broke off the relationship because, as you know, the future did not seem very rosy on the part of the Japanese Imperial Army. The Americans and the British were, especially the Americans, were fighting back. And in August 1945, Japan was defeated and surrendered. But what infuriated your father, Mrs. Aung San Suu Kyi, the most after the war was that the British did not actually provide independence to the Burmese people in which they had actually promised. That is what infuriated your father, General Aung San. Mrs. Aung San Suu Kyi, I admire you as a pro-democracy advocate and a Nobel Peace Prize laureate, and as a brave individual. And that is why when you mentioned on BBC interview the other day that you are fond of the Myanmar army today because you regard it as your father's army, please do not ignore the fact that that army set up by your father was not set up by your father alone. It was set up with the cooperation with other Burmese freedom fighters along with the Japanese military soldiers. That is a humble historical fact. And that is why yesterday when you flew to Seoul and the Yonhap news agency reported that you totally denounced all the Japanese military's actions during World War II, that we, the Japanese today, should admit the mistakes we had conducted during the war, it somehow sounds very, very strange because it was your own father, General Aung San, who demanded strong Japanese support to liberate your beloved nation, Burma, from the British colonizers. Which means if you deny the Japanese military's actions during World War II to support your father and the Burmese people, that is no different from denying your father himself. They fought together for 4 years, and now you denounce all that? You reproach all that? It just does not make sense, does it? It is no different from dragging your own father's name through the mud. We, the Japanese, we love the Myanmar people. We used to love your people, and we still do even today. When all the Western countries like Britain or France or America, they imposed economic sanctions on your country, Japan did its very best to support your country. An ANA flight 3 times a week from Tokyo to Yangon is just one concrete proof. So Mrs. Aung San Suu Kyi, thank you so much for spending your precious time listening to a short speech by an outspoken samurai. I just want to say lastly that I adore you very much, and please say hello to your great people, and that we have to keep the relationship between Japan and Myanmar absolutely top-notch. Thank you very much.